Hello, or welcome back to my channel and to today's video, which is one I haven't done in a while. It is having a look at some of the things I've sold on eBay recently. When I say recently, anything, I've kind of just been through my solds, which is the last 90 days. So I'm going to do it in chronological order and run through. And I'm going to start off with a few fails and then get into some decent sales. Little rhyme for you there. I am a bit scruffy this morning. I am still in my pyjamas. I've got my first cup of tea of the day because it is first thing on a Saturday morning. This is my Emma Bridgewater mug and my hair's a bit of a mess. But this is becoming a bit of a recurring theme because you'll see in next week's video, which I actually filmed last week but I haven't uploaded yet. Similar situation was going on, but hey, you'll just get to see these fabulous pyjamas more than once. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. So, the first two things I'm going to show you, two fails, are items I purchased from, it's a local charity shop in my local town that supports my local town. And this was back when I first started reselling, buying stuff to resell, and I thought they both make money because they were both branded stuff, but they didn't. So the first thing wasn't necessarily branded, but it was this little glass bottle, which was very much like Charles Rennie Mackintosh, if ever you've seen it. And I had it listed for over a year and eventually just dropped it to a £1.99 auction, which it sold at. I think it's probably because it was a bit of a useless item. It's very much display only. It wasn't, you can't sense in the picture, but it was about that big and it wasn't really big enough to do anything with. The opening to it wasn't very big and the bottle was a bit of a weird shape. So perhaps that is why it just wasn't particularly popular. But I know that Mackintosh stuff usually goes quite well for a lot of people. The second thing was this pair of June suede wedges. I picked them up because June is obviously a nice brand, but they are a bit, you know, they're not particularly contemporary, so I don't think they were particularly popular for that reason. I imagine it was someone from perhaps the old generations that purchased these. I don't know, they're not offensive, they're not terrible, but they're just not at the height of fashion, are they? So yeah, they got dropped to an auction too, and I put them on at a £4.99 auction because I felt that June was worth some money, and they went at £4.99, thankfully. I think I paid only £2 for them, so I've still made money, but they took about 18 months to sell and made me next to nothing after fees. Next up, I definitely lost money on these. These are Faithful Friends cat coasters. I think I'd seen Carla get something like this in her filler bag. The difference being that her filler bag stuff costs her about between 10 and 30 pence an item, whereas this for me, I think I paid £1.50. And there was just zero interest. As soon as I got it home and started researching it, I realised that there was next to no value in it whatsoever. But yeah, dropped that onto an auction after about a month of no views, and they sold for 99p. So yeah, a fail. And then the last fail I'm going to show you is this Jane Norman women's party dress. Bought this last September time. Got it off the 50p rail in the YMCA shop that I used to go into, and thought it would sell because it's Jane Norman, and I realised Karen Millen and Jane Norman, in my head, I used to get mixed up as being basically the same thing. Obviously, I know now that Karen Millen tends to be worth more. I just remembered everyone at school having a Jane Norman bags. They were those, either the fuchsia or the teal one with the big Jane Norman letters on it, have like PE kits in them. But anyway, I had this listed for over a year, and again, dropped it onto an auction, and it went for £1.99. I think it cost me 50p, so still technically in profit, but not really worthwhile. So the first decent sale I want to show you is this And Other Stories jumper. I paid £3 for it in the YMCA shop that I used to go into. It was a really nice jumper, sort of a boxy fit, cropped, so it would have been belt line, hem, and a really gorgeous sort of dark cornflower blue colour, wool blend. Can't remember what sort of blend it was, because And Other Stories doesn't tend to have the best material composition, so it's probably not a very high wool percentage. Started it at 35, dropped it to 33, then 30, and eventually someone sent me an offer for 26, which I accepted, and really happy with that out of £3. Next up is this Breakburn dress. Breakburn is a brand that I learnt about from Carla. When we were at the Hitchin meetup, she had a Breakburn purse, and I said, oh, I've never heard of that brand before. And she said, yeah, they're decent. So I got this dress in the YMCA for 50p on their 50p rail. It was a size 20, so it was a good size, and it went sort of back end of this summer, about August time, and apparently yellow was supposed to be the colour for this summer. I don't really find that, but this was yellow, so hey. Got 18 quid for it. I think I had it listed at about 22 and took an offer. So out of 50p, very happy with that. Next up, this is a bit of retail arbitrage. This is some Ralph Lauren linen trousers that I got from TK Maxx. I paid £16 for these, and these sold at 50. So yeah, really chuffed with that. They were sat on there for a good few months, which for a 16 quid investment is a while, but they did sell. Not as quickly as I'd hoped, but they did sell, and for full asking price, so can't really complain. I guess it's just a case of in the future, if I'm a bit strapped for cash, I can't really afford to be having that much invested in one piece of, in one item of stock. Next, really loved this suit. This was from the local charity shop that supports my local town, and it's a vintage Burton suit, 40s or 50s, and you could tell from the quality of it, the material was so thick, and it had a very fine pinstripe to it. And the nice thing about this is that there's a possibility that my nan helped to make this suit, because she, what was her job? Before she got married at 21, so sort of 17 to 21, she worked in the Burton's factory, and she either stitched the suit arms into the jackets or stitched the lining in. Maybe she did both across different times. But the thought that, because there was a factory in my local town, and I bought this in my local town because my family have lived in the same area for a long time now. So there is actually a distinct possibility that she sewed part of the suit, and that was a really nice thought, because at the point in time in which I bought that, she was in hospital, and everything that's happened with her this year was kicking off, so that was something that put a smile on my face. And I paid £5 for it, because they had it out at 10, but they had a half price on all clothing at that point in time. That charity shop's really good for that. I'd say 50% of the time that I go in there, there is a sale on, and it's always half price off men's and women's clothing. So I got 45 for it, and out of a fiver, really happy. Had it listed at 55 and accepted an offer on that. Next up, this was a punt that paid off. I saw this in a cancer research shop in Harrogate, paid £4.95 for it, or was it £4.50? It was £4 something. And it was this shirt, and the label on it said Fowlat Belfast 1963, and I had no idea what it meant, and I was really intrigued by it. I thought it looked like it could be to do with the army, but it was weird because it didn't have a collar. I was like, oh, granddad collar, but that's fashion, that's not military wear. Anyway, got it home, did some research, and realised it was a genuine British Army shirt from the 60s, and listed it. It sold one time within a week of listing to a man who clearly collected military memorabilia based on his eBay feedback, but unfortunately it didn't fit him, so it came back, and then it sold again within a week of relisting it at full asking price, which was great because he'd actually sent me it originally sold on an offer for 35, so ended up selling it for more. And buyer for me always pays return postage unless it is completely my fault, as in I've sent them an item that's the wrong size or marks for whatever reason, which is very rare, I have to say. That's only happened to me twice in the last 18 months. So anyway, yeah, 40 quid out of less than a fiver. That'll do for me. Next up, oversized Batwing cashmere jumper, and this was unbranded. It had a label in it, but there was absolutely no recollection of that label anywhere online. So one of those things that was probably either from a market store maybe, or from a random clothing outlet, not entirely sure, but it was a really nice jumper, sort of charcoal and acid green, and I paid £1 for this in the Martin House charity shop in my local town. As you will well know by now if you've watched me, that's a clearance Martin House and most stuff is £1 in there. It took it a good 8 months to sell, but out of £1 into 22, that was absolutely fine. I think I started quite high on it, but it was unbranded, so I started at about 40 and just dropped it and dropped it and dropped it until there was interest. I think at this point I dropped it to 25 and someone sent me an offer of 22, and out of £1, that is £22, 22 times my original investment, so absolutely more than happy with that. Next up, these are some water filters. We used to have a filter jug, which we got rid of, and these were the leftover filters that we still had. We had 5 of them, and I listed them and they sold within 3 days for full asking price. So it cost me nothing and got 18 quid out of that. Just a disclaimer, I still have the last final remains of a cold, so apologies for sounding a little bit bunged up. Next item, this one was really chuffed with. This is one of the things that I picked up in the car boot haul of vintage clothing that I got back at the back end of March. I didn't list any of it until, what would it be, end of August, September time. And this is a vintage Umbro sort of rugby top. It said it was a size small, but honestly the pit to pit on it was probably about 25 inches, which makes it a 50-inch chest. And for people that don't sell clothing or really have a clue about men's clothing sizes, I'm a size small to medium and I have a 38-inch chest. So to be a size small of a 50-inch chest, was very oversized indeed. Anyway, this sold within a week of listing for full asking price of 40 quid. Made me think I could have maybe asked more, but hey, 40 quid out of my £1 investment, because I don't know if I mentioned, it cost me £1. Everything in that haul was £1, more or less. So yeah, was chuffed with that. Then I bought a load of Liz Earle skincare products because they were massively discounted on the Liz Earle website. I got an email about it because I've got an account with them, and I wanted the cleanse and polish out of both sets. I think there was about 300ml worth of cleanse and polish. I also kept one skin repair moisturiser, but sold everything else that came in the sets. There was about 9 or 10 different listings. This was one of them, 2 tubes of skin repair light cream, £27.50 for the pair of them. I had it listed at £29.95, took an offer. They only had a couple of quid off, that's fine in my books. Overall, from the set, I spent about 110 quid on all the skincare. I got 3 tubes of cleanse and polish and a tube of moisturiser out of it, and a toiletry bag. And so far, what I've sold accounts to 140 quid, and I still have 1 or 2 listings on there. So in profit, plus free skincare, double win. Next up, we have this Pablo Durell Gerard. It was like a really thick cardigan, so almost like a jacket, and it was a cashmere blend. The Cancer Research in Harrogate had a ton of these in last year. Bought them sort of last October, and they had them out at £10 each, and they were equivalent of a UK 16, and they had an RRP sticker on of €245, but they'd gone into some sort of outlet for €135, which I obviously wasn't going to denote on here. And I had them all listed at 40. I bought 4 of them, I should say. Sold 2 over the course of the year, and then in September, miraculously, 2 sold overnight to 2 different people. And I put a post on my Instagram saying, I wonder if it's 2 friends that have bought matching cardigans, because that'd be really cute. But anyway, yeah, I dropped the listing price from 40 down to 30, and they both sold at full price. Wouldn't particularly bother again. £10 is quite a big investment to have it sat there for basically 12 months, and they were so bulky that they took up loads of storage space. And one thing you might know is that I'm very limited on storage space. So as much as I made some decent profit off them, probably wouldn't bother again unless I thought they'd be a quicker sale. Next up, a pair of Fat Face men's jeans. Fat Face, I would say, is the brand for me that is really top-end bread and butter, in that it sells through quickly for me at decent prices, and it doesn't cost me much to pick up. And I had 2 pairs of these men's jeans. One was a fly zip and one was a zip fly, and one was a button fly. This is the button fly, still got the zip fly one. Paid £2 for these in the local charity shop when they were doing the half price sale, and they went out the door at 25 within sort of 3 weeks of having them listed. They were a decent sized waist, which I think helped sell them, and shorter legs at 29 inch. So that's actually probably a benefit, because it'll be a specific kind of person that probably struggles to find jeans that fit them, being a bigger waist with a shorter leg. And yeah, I think that's probably what sold them there. But really good quality jeans. Fat Face stuff is always nice quality cotton. We all know that. Next, another item from the vintage car boot haul. So again, cost me £1. And this was a Richards dress, 70s in style with the shoulder pads. I think I've mislisted that at 70s. I think it's more late 80s, early 90s, but hey, someone bought it. It's a UK 8 to 10, so a small size. This is a thing with most of that vintage stuff, it was a really small size, which meant that I was listing it for lower prices to get it sold. Whereas, you know, if this was a size 16, I would have probably upped the price a bit more, knowing that there would be more popularity out there. So anyway, I'd listed it at £29.95, so 30, and someone sent me an offer of 25, which I gladly accepted. Great return from £1. Then there's this Paul Smith jumper. I picked this up from the YMCA charity shop for £4, I think it was, and it was 100% linen. It was a really, really nice jumper, size XL as well, so a really good size, and sold it for 40, so tenfold what I paid for it. Obviously happy with that. This skirt here, this River Island skirt, this was my most watched item for ages. I had about 14 watches on this before it eventually sold. Had it listed at 20, someone sent me an offer of 17, and I gladly accepted. This was one of my 50p rail items from the YMCA shop, so yeah, 17 out of 50p. This Maggie London dress was another dress from the vintage car boot haul, so again cost me £1, again UK 8, really nice pattern to it, and sold for 24, so out of £1, yet again happy with that. Here we have a pair of Levi's jeans. I bought these off eBay for myself for £23 plus postage. They arrived and the colour was a lot darker than I was expected. The colour that you can sort of see on the right hand side at the bottom, it's like a blackened blue. It was very dull, and not at all the colour I was expecting. These were really difficult to photograph, so I have sympathy for whoever sold them to me, because the colour was shy. The camera on my phone likes to brighten stuff up, and I did edit the pictures slightly to get it to try and look real, but it takes so much time. Anyway, I've already had positive feedback for these. These sold sold last week for £30 plus post, so I've made a little bit of money on that, so that's fine with me. Haven't lost anything. And like I say, the buyer was really happy with them. Time for a bit of homeware for once. This is a set of 4 Whittard's Jumbo Hot Chocolate Cappuccino mugs with saucers. I got these from the local charity shop for a £5 2 weeks ago, listed them and they sold within a week of listing for 20. I'd had them listed at 23. I messed up on this because I only charged £3.95 postage and they weighed about 4 kilos in the end, so it cost me about £7 to ship. So profit margin's still good enough, but not amazing. I thought they would be worth more. I thought they were worth more around the £30 mark, but not going to complain. Got them out the door. It's just a case of when you spent a £5 on something and it's difficult to store, which for me hard goods are. I don't have much space, as I've said. You can't pile them all on top of each other. I'd potentially want a bigger return for that, but like I say, went within a week, so fine. And then on to something else that sold this week was this Ladies Fenright and Manson waterfall cardigan. It's a wool blend, very low percentage wool. I must say, I think it's about 7% wool. Very high in acrylic. Had it listed at 22 and took an offer of 18. Was more than happy with that. And I'm going to end on a bit of a bolo for me, and was also really happy because this sold on my birthday. This is a V&A Museum calamacree. I've mistyped that anyway. Single duvet cover set, which was brand new in its packaging from either, I'd say the 90s, maybe possibly 80s, but more 90s. And I had listed this at £49.95 with free postage, and it sold for full asking price within 2 weeks of listing it, and I paid £5 for it at the Cancer Research shop in Harrogate. So that's a really nice sale to end on, and a really nice sale to wake up to on the morning of my birthday. So yeah, very few things. I'm happy with how things are going at the moment in terms of I seem to be having far fewer fails than I used to, which is always a good thing. And I've made some really decent profits off the stuff I've been selling recently, which really happy with. Sales have been slower than previously. I sort of went into a bit of a slump over the summer with getting stuff listed, but throughout September I put in a huge effort and have been continuously getting 2 things listed a day, and I'm 2 weeks ahead scheduled with 2 items a day. Plus I've been setting up about 25 items to go onto auction. They're going live on the 23rd of October. A load of stuff that I was going to put on Vinted but couldn't be bothered, so thought chuck it all on auctions to see what goes. Whatever doesn't go will go to charity. So I've got all that ready to go as well. And sales have picked up. They aren't quite as frequent as they were in March, April time for me. And I'm not sure why, because I am listing higher quality stuff than I was then and more frequently. But I'm hoping that as we get closer to Christmas, things pick up more and more. That's what everyone seems to say happens. But we are now, as I'm filming this, on the 15th of October, so mid-October, and my sales are okay, but they're not as frequent as I would like them to be. I'm still having some no sales days. So anyway, things are good, but not amazing, is basically what I'm saying there. The sales are good, and maybe it's that I'm pricing things at a higher end, because that is what I tend to do. And if I drop my prices a bit, I would see more stuff coming through, but hey, I'm not going to undersell myself. No one should undersell themselves, even though it's not myself I'm selling. Random tangent there, sorry. I'm going to end this here because we're almost at 25 minutes. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed something a little bit different, because I haven't filmed one of these in, I couldn't tell you the last time I filmed one. Have a lovely rest of your day whenever you're watching this, and God, my throat. Thank you for watching, have a lovely day, and I'll see you again soon with another upload.